We're back with our final quarterfinal of the day before we move on to the lower bracket. And if you're just tuning in, I'm sorry, because we have had nothing but amazing games all day. You're in for a treat, though. Joining us once again, Flea and Ketchup. We just saw Maxter, who even said in an interview, I'm ready. If I know who I might have to face, one of those players is Rafa. I think I can beat him. And sometimes you just need to have that mentality before you can manifest it and actually make something happen. He did exactly that with an O2, but now we're going to switch gears a little bit, bring the hype down, and then bring it right back up because it's vengeuR versus ZenAku.
This is one of those matches you really want to tune into. So,
Yep.
Always a shame to get kind of a team kill at this point, but we are later into the bracket now, and the reason they're both here is because they've both done extremely well. ZenAku, who has just been consistently getting better and better, recently signing with Maestro, having a bit more access to that degree of like highest caliber of training, so you always know that he's going to be looking good, and go figure, he looks good. But then vengeuR, where when we saw vengeuR play today, it's like, it says a lot when you think that this could be the best Quake that vengeuR's been playing so far, period. You know, there's a lot of Quake there to count in, but this weekend in particular feels particularly special, Flea.
vengeuR is looking to be in absolute top shape. Both of these players actually coming off a 2-0 victory, right? vengeuR beating Buckster, ZenAku taking Chain down to the lower bracket. So both of these teammates representing Team Maestro are looking so good going into this.
Yeah, they're building quite the Quake army over there, aren't they? I mean, you're right, Ketchup, a team kill inevitable, but it also means that they're guaranteed at least 2 Maestro players in the semifinals, which also presents a possibility of the upper bracket final having 2 Maestro players as well. So I'm sure the team very happy and proud, and seems to be a bunch of teammates that really support one another, but in this case, the dueling pistols come out, and you have to put friendships aside because one of these players will advance, the other will fall. Let's talk a little bit about ZenAku, because in his game earlier, boy, did he look phenomenal versus Chain. It was looking like ZenAku was going to finish his game potentially not even giving up a single frag. That first map went 12-0, and the second map, I have 12-6, but I recall there was quite a long time where it was like 7-0 until finally Chain was able to make some things happen. So 2 amazing players that are playing absolutely at the top of their own skill sets.
Very true, yeah. ZenAku versus his teammate vengeuR. Now, ZenAku, of course, if we take a look at their match history between these two, they actually have a very short competitive history within the Quake Pro League, having played just once in recent history, and that was just earlier this season with ZenAku actually beating vengeuR 2-1. Now, of course, they've played a whole lot. They're very well familiar with one another because as teammates, they practice non-stop. But competitively speaking, within the Quake Pro League, so far, it's been ZenAku who's come out on top.
Which I can't say surprises me, because ZenAku is reaching that caliber where those victories against the likes of a vengeuR will eventually happen. Whether they happen consistently is a different talking point entirely, but it's clearly been established that ZenAku has what it takes to pull off those gigantic results. It's just that this weekend in particular, this is the show that you want to have those results because it's the big one. So I'm faithful and hopeful here for ZenAku, but I do think vengeuR has that upper hand just because, I mean, what we've seen this weekend is really scary. Anyway.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, if you tuned in weekly to QPL, you probably started to hear us talk more and more as we got closer to the finals that, hey, there is a closing gap between the top players in the QPL, and that opens up a lot of possibilities for upsets, surprises, etc. And it's exactly what we've seen over the last day and a half so far, still with a day and a half left to go. Not sure what might happen here, but certainly still a stage possibly set up for an upset, a surprise, an extended series. I don't even know how to necessarily call this one, but let's take a look at the picks and bans because I don't have anything on my my tablet here, and that's exactly where I want to be. So Corrupted Keep is going to be vengeuR's pick, and then Insomnia, wow, coming out from ZenAku, and then finally a good old Blood Covenant, should we need it. Now taking a look at our champions picks and bans, who wants to break these down.
I'll take you through it. Okay, so let's take a look. We're starting off Ranger versus BJ. Very standard uncorrupted keep, right? Two medium champions, nothing out of the ordinary. A lot of damage potential on the both of them with that orb versus the dual it. But the orb, of course, is the added benefit of allowing you to relocate and get some positional advantages too. Map 2, Insomnia, latest to be added to the Quake Pro Leagues pool. We're seeing Nyx versus vengeuR. Hello, we saw what ZenAku can do with vengeuR against Nyx.
Yep.
Wait, you were just talking about it. So vengeuR, he's got to be cautious with this one. Of course, Insomnia, a smaller, more denser, more compact map than Ruin. So of course, the impact of that piercing sight is going to be lessened somewhat, but still difficult matchup. And then finally, Blood Covenant. Hello, the two fastest champions in the game, Athena versus Slash.
The ban at the end has me a little bit confused, but I guess it doesn't really matter, because we're going in with two champions that will make perfect sense regardless. The two arguably strongest champions on Blood Covenant currently, and I kind of think that these picks go to show that there's no games here. We're going as efficient as possible, we're going as optimal as possible, and that's all you can do at this stage of the tournament.
Yeah. Well, hey, before we jump into the map, let's take a quick look at those brackets, right? So you can see kind of a larger picture of where we're at right here. We do have the Kilson versus Razy matchup set up, and then we were correct in that Maxer will face the winner of this matchup. So you can start to, you know, really think about the dream that you're going to get tomorrow as we move on. That round of 4, the best of 5, won't be played until tomorrow. A lot of time for the players to think about those matches. Now, I'm very curious to see what that lower looks like as well. You've got Avik who's dropped down. You've got Dramas who's dropped down. You've got Rafa who's dropped down. And one of these players is going to drop down. And all of those names have the potential to do some serious damage in the lower bracket. I think earlier we were talking a little bit about stamina, and stamina is definitely going to come into play. But, gentlemen, it's been a wild day, and I'm really excited to see this match play out. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like, we're in a position now, surely, as we're now getting ready to jump into map 1. These predictions might be kind of hard to call. I can foresee a lot of the people like feeling vengeuR has the edge, but I don't realistically think anyone's predicting a 2-0. Surely not.
I don't think if you fed all the scores and all the demos into an AI, like it would spit out and it would, you know, I don't know, it'd be like John Carmack won. I don't know if anyone can predict anymore. It almost is like I don't want to curse anything, and also I have no idea. I feel like my reality has kind of been shattered a little bit, which is great. This is what we hope we see at every single one of these big tournaments. But I don't know. Anyone want to take a jab at it?
2-1 vengeuR. That's what I'm going with. Like, both of these players have been playing so well, right? But vengeuR, when I saw him play earlier today, yes, it was against Buckster, but his play, it was immaculate. It was some of the closest to perfection I think I've seen in Quake for a long time. Very reminiscent of how Rafa plays. Extremely disciplined, calculated. Every move planned flawlessly. I think he dropped maybe 1 frag in those entire 2 maps. So cold and so determined, and I think that he's got what it takes to beat ZenAku on this one.
Yeah, I would agree.
Big believer in ZenAku, but I feel vengeuR as well. Have to agree with Flea here.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
I mean,
at this point.
Sometimes. Sometimes I do.
Wouldn't be surprised if it did go 2-1, right? I think map champion picks I could definitely see ZenAku, especially considering how he played his vengeuR earlier versus a Nyx. He definitely seems to be tuned and dialed in to that particular matchup. But hopefully we won't have to wait that much longer for this match to get underway. A reminder, this is our last quarterfinal of the day. It sets up tomorrow's semifinal matches, and then also lets us head into the lower bracket where players are going to start going home. At the end of the day, there will only be 6 players remaining in this tournament. And it looks like we are about ready to hop into things. So I really hope that we get something as energetic as what we just saw. And it looks like the map is loading. Corrupted Keep is our first one. Flea, catch up, enjoy it.
Thank you, Wade, and you enjoy, together with the rest of the chat, watching this one from the green room. Corrupted Keep, Ketchup, the only map in the pool that lacks a railgun, and that is something that we've seen both of these players use to perfection. Ranger versus BJ. ZenAku will be running the BJ, that dual wield, so powerful, but you have to be so aware of the game to be able to use it at the right time, right? If you wait for it, it takes half a second to pull that second gun out, and that can be decisive in a game like Quake. And meanwhile, vengeuR has got that orb, so powerful in terms of position, but also for burst damage. So I think ZenAku kind of want to hold his distance for this one.
We've seen vengeuR with the Ranger on this map before, and it's been rather spectacular, if I say so myself. But this is where the pressure's starting to amplify with these two team members recently joining the same team as each other, where ZenAku's getting access to all kinds of wonderful training. Is that training going to pay off? As we now jump into this first map, vengeuR currently keeping a nice amount of safety space at this point, and we're waiting for those first items to spawn, so we're going to have your standard slow start right now. The heavy gets picked up, which of course means that ZenAku is going to return the favor with a mega, and a little bit of an exchange. But again, no dedication just yet. I think this element of caution, surely we're going to be seeing this the whole time.
I'm inclined to agree with that. vengeuR was able to secure the mega. Or mega rather, the LG slipping into the mega room completely uncontested. Oh, ZenAku going up the bounce pad once, twice, third time. I don't know about this one. vengeuR stands his ground. I think ZenAku just kept on expecting his opponent to drop down and set up for the mega, but no, vengeuR just stood, waited, allowed his opponent to make that critical mistake and walk away with the first frag.
Reaction!
Yep, waiting with the super shoddy at the edge of the orb. ZenAku retaliates quickly.
That first frag of the day, though, might give ZenAku a little bit of information, right? Because although the dual wield LG was there and it was being used, vengeuR was still able to outdamage and force away. Force back down into the jump pad and not take too much damage there. So, I mean, ZenAku is going to know now, like, even though I'm going to have the dual wield available, I can't rely on it to be my be-all, end-all. vengeuR's LG there was absolutely disgusting. And we've only just started. So we'll have to see how much respect does get put on, but gives ZenAku the props, you know, knowing the orb's going to come, just feeling it in your bones and having an SSG ready to rock to be able to equalize.
Both of the items perfectly in sync right now. Heavy machine gun being used to pepper one another from a distance. vengeuR looking healthy. Very respectful plays by both of these competitors. Neither looking to overextend. No one feeling confident yet that they are able to get a clean kill and establish full control, so they're waiting for an opportunity, probing the other's defense, hoping that they will catch a burst of unreturned damage that will allow them to get the upper hand and to turn that into some level of control.
Saw elements of this when we saw Razy versus Avec. You know, lots of caution and loads of respect, and all it took was that one opportunity. And then once you embrace it, boom, the rest of the map can really fall apart for the opposing player. But again, that caution's going to continue here. Even there, ZenAku, in theory, could have denied that light, but wasn't 100% sure where vengeuR was. At the time, why use self-damage? You know, A, it's going to give you position away. B, if you know someone nearby, maybe have a little bit of a fight first, get damage, then go take it. All these little bits of micromanagement that, in the whole grand scheme of things, they matter so much.
Liking the tribal use by vengeuR right there. Chip damage over time, it adds up.
ZenAku doesn't even have one yet.
No, indeed, ZenAku was hoping to maybe do something with the heavy machine gun, but vengeuR was able to just abuse that cover that he had to get quite a bit of unreturned damage in to make a move onto the heavy. Now both players brawling it out from a distance, their stacks dwindling in kind. Both majors are up. Oh, ZenAku using the dual wield. No doubt that vengeuR heard. He must have heard the difference in sound cue when those dual LGs were fired, and he knows that he can now push in more easily.
ZenAku had to be so patient there that the dual wield was used purely just on the off chance that vengeuR was sticking around, you know. Just right as he pops the dual wield, yeah, vengeuR goes towards heavy at the right time, but on the small chance that vengeuR was sticking around for Mega, it certainly would have made the fight a lot more beneficial for ZenAku. But as we said, this is where the respect constantly comes in, catches vengeuR dropping down. The orb, just to distract. No way on this earth vengeuR was teleporting to that, but you just had to think about it. We had to be able to get that split second of diverted focus to escape into the nail gun room, and now ZenAku has done tons of damage and is in quite a good position to maybe get himself something here. vengeuR. Oh, what a recovery.
I'm extremely surprised that ZenAku allowed him to live right there. ZenAku was outstacking vengeuR significantly. The Italian player had only 20-something points of health. And instead of sticking around and using that heavy machine gun from a distance, he just allowed him to get out and restack. Maybe he didn't realize just how low he got his opponent, but I feel like that's a bit of a missed opportunity right there.
Well, thankfully for now, vengeuR does not have any armor. Now, it will be a little bit of time until that light one regenerates near nail room where vengeuR is currently sitting. But with that range damage, LG that just says, get off me, bro. There's the armor. Has in fact respawned. So just like that, vengeuR playing that well. You know, taking a generous opportunity. ZenAku chose kind of not to push in as heavy as arguably maybe he should have done. And vengeuR using that to actually establish full map control. ZenAku,
Yep.
I think how you utilize the dual wield if the chips are down, that's going to be a real key point in the next fight.
That's the first time this has happened. Up until this rotation, catch-up, the items were perfectly split down the middle. 10 for one, 10 for the other. No one really having the upper hand, but now vengeuR finally at long last ties both of them up in one single rotation. Now looking at the damage, also pretty much identical. So let's see if vengeuR can make anything happen with the stack advantage that he has. Can he apply significant pressure on ZenAku? Finally get into the lead.
Really feels to me like ZenAku is just looking for that one golden moment, but so much damage from range. vengeuR is pushing in with the LG, and he narrowly survives and takes him out. Question is, with how little health vengeuR has left, can ZenAku refrag this? No.
No.
vengeuR with the positioning, real good stuff, and just has the perfect path to recover.
Absolutely. Now Mega is the item that both players are sticking around for. 5 seconds left to go. And it is indeed ZenAku who's got the better positioning to drop down. Nice. Excellent read by vengeuR. It's a lot of free unreturned damage using that heavy machine gun to its fullest extent. But now vengeuR is kind of forced on the back foot. He's got to relinquish control, give up heavy. But he's got a very clear game plan to work his way back into this. Stick at a distance. Use that heavy machine gun, the tribal, to slowly equalize the stacks, which he's managed to do. And now maybe make a play on Mega. Perhaps even use the orb. Doesn't have to. Gets away with minimal damage taken.
ZenAku does not want to challenge that one bit. Able to see it, get a little bit of damage, but more importantly, just keep the timing in your head. You know, make yourself known. Has given up once again the full map control, something that vengeuR has been sitting on for the last few minutes. But once more, it comes down to the fact that ZenAku hasn't been caught in a horrible position yet. I say yet because that might change any minute, especially right now. But he's been holding on to the dual wield for a long time, because that can be your ticket to equalize. There's only one frag down. All you need is that one opportunity played perfectly, and just like that, ZenAku's back in the game, and I'm sure he knows that.
Aggressive orb, won't really find any damage with it, but does walk away with the heavy. And now vengeuR knows that if he can just continue playing this game until the end, he will walk away with the win. ZenAku taking a big risk right here, using the dual wields, been hanging on to it for a while, like you said. Good use of the rocket jump right there. vengeuR realized that if he stuck around for too long, that LG damage would be absolutely incredible. And just took the fastest way out of there.
Well played by ZenAku, though. Able to get in and out in the blink of an eye, and just like that, has been able to reverse the momentum of the map control. He's definitely going to have another dual wield, maybe two by the end of this map, depending on how he's able to manage it. A minute and a half left on the clock, and severely, well, I say severely outstacking before he got hit by that last amount of damage there from vengeuR, but the pieces are moving.
They certainly are.
vengeuR, if there's one thing he's a master at, though, it's playing from what seems like behind. I mean, it's the angles, Flea. It's the angles. What a pain.
His rockets are, of course, sublime, but that heavy machine gun of his, worth riding home about. Keeping his distance, he really had a game plan going into this, sticking to it, and rightfully so. It's been working well. Shouldn't abandon it. Now, this is risky, though. Drops down on it. Orb doesn't capitalize. And ZenAku patiently backing up. Right decision, because ZenAku knows that if he drops one more frag at this point, catch up, it's GG.
Absolutely. There's no way vengeuR's going to let him take it. Oh, what's that from ZenAku's point of view? That rocket was so narrowly close to being a direct. Now, wait a minute. A frag has been obtained, but good lord, did ZenAku take tons of damage in the process. Sitting around for this Mega is a risk and a half, but it looks like vengeuR actually not too focused on it either. So vengeuR tried to get the equipment first. Put yourself in position for a heavy right now. We'll see how long he sticks around, but ZenAku able to recover. Was so weak after that frag to equalize, but definitely we're going into sudden death for this first map, and can I say I'm surprised? Probably not.
No, this is every bit as close and as balanced as we all thought it would be.
The wheel's ready, Flea. The wheel's ready.
It
So's
sure
the orb.
is. Yep.
Explosive fight incoming, perhaps.
Mega up in just 1 second. vengeuR puts himself out of position. Is he going to rocket jump out again? Looking for an exit. Oh, I like what ZenAku did. Just hangs around long enough to make sure that he can make it over to heavy as it spawns to get a huge stack advantage. Doesn't even pick it up right away. Wants to burn some of his stack, trade it with vengeuR, knowing that he's got the better resources behind him to fall back on.
And as he pushes forward, vengeuR standing true. Oh my good lord.
Oh, that's got to be frustrating. ZenAku embraces it, just jumps straight on top of that rocket. That was so clearly unintentional. I clenched the moment he went for that jump, and you see the rocket hurling towards his face. Oh my goodness, look at that relief on vengeuR's face.
That's one extreme or the other. You know, if you're in vengeuR's position, that magical rocket from seemingly out of nowhere, which did stem from a very bold defensive position. You know that ZenAku has done more damage, is outstacking you. ZenAku was even delaying to get extra damage before even picking up the heavy, yet the positioning there from vengeuR was just sit there confident with the LG, and then obviously that last minute swap to the rocket. I don't think any of us expected that to be a direct. And of course, the direct is what sealed the fate. ZenAku, no doubt, going to be a bit frustrated about that, but it was just one map. There's more to go. But that was a marathon on the first one.
Absolutely went into overtime. Both of these players so evenly matched. And here we see the final rockets from vengeuR's point of view. Bam! And he jumps right into it. Ouch, ouch, ouch. ZenAku. He even took a slightly unconventional route, right? Doesn't go straight across the bridge, but first jumps to the right when coming out the teleporter and then jumps on the bridge and ultimately didn't change a thing. vengeuR, he's going to be relieved that he can clutch home map 1 like that. But map 2 is going to be a very, very different story. It will be Insomnia, vengeuR rocking Nyx, and ZenAku playing the Visor.
Now, we've actually seen this matchup quite a large amount this weekend, but from what we've been seeing from vengeuR, again, it commands a different beast, because I'm looking at this matchup, right, and I'm looking at Nyx, and I'm looking at how often Nyx can be a relatively safe pick if you're really good at utilizing that Ghost Walk, right? You can, you have a little bit more wiggle room, and you don't have to necessarily play your standard game of Quake. You can kind of get the items that you want to get, but at the same time, be nice and careful and kind of pick and choose. vengeuR's really good at that. Yes. Because that's the kind of thing that you do when you're playing significantly from behind, right? Where you can't prioritize every single item that's on the map. You kind of have to pick and choose the ones that you want. Like that's just kind of a perfect scenario for vengeuR. So I can imagine just in my head that this champion choice on a map like this could be quite good for him. It just depends on ZenAku really keeping that focus after what was a unfortunate end to the first map.
Yeah, it sure was, right? And he doesn't have a lot of time to reset either, because we're already going to be loading into the next map within a few seconds. But indeed, this is going to be a very interesting matchup. As you said yourself, Nyx can work wonders for vengeuR. But on the other hand, we've seen what ZenAku is capable of in this very matchup, as he absolutely demolished Chain. It was a different map, a much larger one than this, so perhaps the piercing sight will be slightly less effective, but surely ZenAku has gone into this with some planning. He's run through this match in his head. He knows when and how he wants to use that piercing sight. Probably doesn't just want to pop it straight away, but hold on to it for the right time.
This is a critical point. You know, this ain't the finals yet, but we're close. We're close to hitting that all-important final day, and everyone knows it. vengeuR would like nothing more than to not only qualify for that final day, but to win the whole thing.
vengeuR sending hearts aflutter with that cheeky little wink of his. My man, pleasing the crowd, not just with his gameplay alone. As we have loaded into the warm-up, which is now coming to a close. We are on Insomnia, the most recent map to be added to the Quake Pro League pool. And here we are, jumping right into this through the eyes of ZenAku.
Insomnia can often be such an unusual map that we've seen so far. It feels like only yesterday where people were figuring out how the map actually works, let alone the fact that there was a change made. And hang on a minute, I'll get into that later because the reactionary piercing sight, just to make sure that ZenAku has all the information he needs off the Ghost Walk. That's one of the rare occasions that a champion does truly have a direct counter to another one. Apart from the day Clutch, for some reason, could see Nyx when the shield was active.
Different days.
I was like that since like the very beginning. I was like, what's going on here? Anyway, not that it matters. As now it's still 0-0. That piercing sight's going to give ZenAku a nice little inkling over where vengeuR is going to be. And in this case, chase it through the teleporter. Lovely defensive positioning from vengeuR, though, getting a pretty much point-blank shot there, forcing the disengage and forcing us to have to restack. But here comes that heavy. And the Mega soon to follow.
Not enough time between the items for ZenAku to move from one to the other, so there will still be a split. vengeuR now holding on to the Mega. ZenAku in control of the heavy. vengeuR, no doubt, would want it to be the other way around, as he is playing the light, squishy champion. But that's a good rail. ZenAku doesn't really have a whole lot of resources to fall back on, especially not in terms of armor. Good rail, but he is low, he is weak, he has to run. vengeuR will chase, and the super shot, he will clean it up. The Italian getting one frag up already. Can he find the other one? No, misses the kill shot, allowing ZenAku to walk away with the heavy.
However, vengeuR is immediately ready to answer back and land yet another one to put ZenAku in a rather terrible position. There's a huge time until we get the heavy to spawn, and I'm sure vengeuR knows that. This is an opportunity for vengeuR now to say, right, you've just spawned. What weapons are you likely going to have? And oh, that opening rail? Yeah, give me the finish. The shotgun is all ZenAku had for that situation, so vengeuR is absolutely going to pounce on that.
Good use of the wall jump there as well. Able to cut quite a few corners on this map. vengeuR's rail has been solid. Let's take a look. 47% railgun versus 25 by ZenAku. Over 3/4 of vengeuR's damage have been with the railgun alone. Good rocket. Is he gonna push it?
Too risky.
Yeah, no.
A risk not worth taking as Heavy's just about to spawn. vengeuR is able to kind of keep it nice and safe thanks to the Ghost Walk. Almost managed to hit the mark. Oh, that tri-bolt narrowly too high up in the air to deliver the damage that definitely would have sent ZenAku down. Another spawn. However, a current 2-0 and a lot of momentum for vengeuR is what we're currently working on. There's a delay between the Heavy and the Mega now, so that does mean that, you know, a good little sequence and then the entire map can belong to vengeuR if he plays his cards right. Or on the opposite end, ZenAku needing to mount some kind of comeback, plenty of time to do it, and maybe a full map cycle is going to be how you do just that. So going in for the Heavy, vengeuR, not really too worried about it, and there it is again, the defensive Ghost Walk. If I need to get out, I can. The defensive 100 damage rocket, though. This is why vengeuR is an absolute animal. How do you chase this guy?
100 damage rocket followed up by a 90 damage rail to the face, making it impossible for ZenAku to continue chasing him down. And indeed, defensively, vengeuR is oh so powerful. But he has to be careful. Still doesn't have that much stack to throw around. Heavy is up, and I think he's just gonna leave it for his opponent, positioning himself onto the Mega instead. Oh, nice play from ZenAku. Just slowly walking up, not making any noise, just to hear the timing of the Mecha pickup. And now he is delaying Heavy, very deliberately so, to try and throw his opponent off, offset the item timing, and get control.
That was a very, very good idea, because things were getting a little bit too patterned here, weren't they? I mean, for the most part, ZenAku, he kind of knows what's going on, but it's like, right, well, how do I break out of this? Because it's almost 5 minutes already, and vengeuR looks to have a pretty convincing hold on the map so far. But hang on a minute. Wait a second. The Heavy just about to spawn, but looks like the fight is in the mine. No, ZenAku! Oh, that is such a shame, vengeuR. You set up all this stuff, you do all this work, and then here comes vengeuR just hitting 100 damage rocket. Doesn't matter how much you plan. If
Yeah.
the damage is like that, then what can you do?
The initial play was very solid by ZenAku as well.
The two-piece.
He heard the Ghost Walk being used, and so he moved away as far as he could, going to a position where he knew that vengeuR wouldn't be able to easily get to him. But then, that mid-air rocket, the tremendous, overwhelming amount of damage shut him down regardless. And vengeuR playing such a critical game right now. Look at that, 1200 damage with the railgun alone versus ZenAku at just 300. That's a huge difference, Ketchup.
And it's no wonder that although ZenAku has had a vast amount of these heavy armors, it hasn't really amounted to anything because vengeuR's been hitting so much of the rail that before the fight even begins, all of those pickups are just being nullified. And obviously, whether we're watching vengeuR right now, this is the style of play you really expect to see put to a masterclass when vengeuR's using it, because you've got a champion who excels at this kind of hide-and-seek style of gameplay. vengeuR was already rather famous for not really prioritizing items. I know that the game plan will change as time goes on, but he was so multi-layered that if he had to play the way he's currently doing, where he's just picking these opportunities, he's not trying to bully his way around the map, he was always going to be able to do it well. And I feel like on a map like this, you can do a really good job of that.
This is starting to become a very dire situation for ZenAku, because if he has to chase him down, Ketchup.
Oh, come
my
on.
God, vengeuR. He's just not letting up. Oh, can he hit another one? And he does! Just before the Mega spawns, he's got himself a light armor to work with as well. Almost as if nothing happened with the scoreline. This is only getting increasingly grim for ZenAku, because now if he has to change his opponent down, Ketchup, how do you catch a Nyx on a map like this? You're outsped. He's got that evasive ability. What do? You have to kill him twice. First to get through that Ghost Walk, and then to find him again. And I just don't know if he can do it.
That doubles up the opportunities to do those defensive rockets too.
Yes.
The exact defensive rockets that are making it so ZenAku straight up can't chase you whatsoever. Wow, 4 rails in a row just like that, that's my kind of quad. And there's not much of this map left now. 3 minutes on the clock, ZenAku in big trouble. Give us another rail. No, never mind, swaps to the safety option. Does manage to get a little runaway shot right as ZenAku goes around the corner. But at this point, I don't think vengeuR even cares about the frags. Let's just keep ZenAku weak, having to run away. Because all that time taken to bring yourself back up, that's time you do not have, my friend.
Oh, ZenAku. He's still outstacked. Now he does secure the Mega, but nevertheless.
Oh
no!
He just finds the damage everywhere. You just need to breathe on him with that super shotgun, and that's going to take him out. And my lord, it certainly will do. 2.5 minutes to go, and way too much work in front of ZenAku. This really can't be done. Not with how this map is unfolding, not with how vengeuR is playing. And this has just been continuing. Look at these rails, looking for another one. There it is. People have said that they strongly believe this could be the best Quake that vengeuR has ever played this weekend, and we've only seen him a small handful of times. If this is the vengeuR that we're getting all weekend long, we very well could be looking at our current champion.
Let's not
for
forget.
this year.
Gotta
say this year. Gotta say this year. Don't worry. I know.
Absolutely. Because let's not forget, he is also our reigning champion, the one who got to hoist the belt over his head last season as well. So vengeuR, man. This is incredible, the shape that he's in, and with that rail, if it wasn't already over and done, then it is now. This will be another 2-0 for the quarterfinals. Catch up, vengeuR. Supremely powerful.
This is a frightening performance. There's really no other way to describe it. Everything has been optimal. Even now, like, yeah, he's missing a few rails now, but he's just having some fun. He's going for some flicks. Both players will know that this map is completely done and dusted, but it is the game plan, and more importantly, the execution of that game plan. vengeuR made this champion look utterly untouchable. And it's just a micromanagement of every tiny situation, the defensive play, a defensive play that he can basically do ×2, because you catch him and he pops a Ghost Walk and you have to do the exact same thing again. It's just a highly, highly impressive showing. And we've barely seen vengeuR this weekend, you know, automatically qualified to that next round like other of the players did, excuse me. But when we have seen him play, it's just like, yeah, this is out of this world.
It sure is. ZenAku, he played well, though.
No, he did.
He can't feel bad about this performance, but vengeuR, with the champion picks on these maps, just had his number. He ultimately ended up outplaying him in most ways, I feel like. Map 1, Corrupted Keep, was still very close, at least for the first half.
I think we're all in the end of this going to be looking at that rocket.
Yeah, that is...
That one rocket in the closing moments of Corrupted Keep. Because the way this one went down, I mean, this is a kind of different beast. It played nothing like the first map. The game plan wasn't the same. It was so nail-bitingly close, and then that sort of lone rocket from out of nowhere, leading into a map that was so one-sided. But it's just... It wasn't about ZenAku playing poorly or anything like that. It was just vengeuR playing out of his skin.
vengeuR happy with that win, and I'm also happy because we're rejoined by the one and only DJ Wheat.
You know, in an action movie where the, protagonist, like, blows something up and then walks away and the explosion is behind them, and that is basically what happened in the final moments of that game one, is seeing the fire the rocket and then the turnaround to the 2 health bubbles, and then you see the frag message.
Yep.
That was the equivalent of that in a Quake map. It looked great. We speculated about ZenAku and the visor in game 2, but here comes vengeuR with a clear game plan that, made that other game look, I don't know. I was kind of shocked to see it, but vengeuR looked great. I loved that first game, a nail biter to the end. I also saw that look on ZenAku's face, just because it could have gone either way. I would have loved to seen the extended alternate universe of that game where ZenAku picked up that heavy right away and then went back hallway, and we had a completely different matchup. But vengeuR looked solid there, and against a teammate that probably knows him a little bit better, and he knows pretty well. Although that was a good victory for him. Low scoring overall, even though those final frags there and Insomnia really brought it back. But yeah, vengeuR, I think, definitely deserves to be in there in the upper bracket. ZenAku, I'd be really scared if I was down in the lower bracket and had to go up against him.
I consider that very much a taste of things to come when it comes to vengeuR. Because there's more opportunities now where we're going to see players that are making it into the later final sections of this weekend's bracket. They're going to have to fight vengeuR, and if he's playing like that, they have got to bring absolute perfection. Because if they don't, I cannot see a universe where they're able to win. Like, with that kind of display, everyone has to be able to match it, because if they can't, vengeuR's just going to take this all the way.
It was the complete package, right? The movements, the aim, the decision-making, the positioning, every single thing was immaculate. And Wheat, I mentioned it to you before we started, right? What I saw vengeuR do against Buckster was as close to perfect Quake as you can possibly get, and he carried that over here as well.
Right, and the question is, can he carry it throughout the tournament? But so far, pretty good odds as far as I can see it. So vengeuR wins our last quarterfinal of the day, and that's going to set up some new matches. In fact, that sets up a Maxter vengeuR matchup up in the semifinals. That'll be played tomorrow. We are going to be shifting gears to the lower bracket matches, which means that from this point on, for the remainder matches, not only on the main stream but also on the B stream, if you lose that match, your tournament life is over. So shifting gears here a little bit, some phenomenal quarterfinal games. Shouts out to all of the winners that move forward, and we'll be keeping close eyes on those that did not move forward and are now down in the lower bracket. We are going to take a break. When we return, it's going to be lower bracket games beginning. Our first one's going to be Dramas versus Ron. That's coming up next. We're going to take a break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.